Now then, what I have here is a sample of an application for a review or an appeal to a tribunal. And this form is to the Transportation Appeal Tribunal of Canada. That's this one. Okay? So please have your little form ready, how to apply for review. And we're going to actually complete this just so you can get a feel for what the process is for doing an application for a review. And we're going to assume that whoever is making this appeal has been barred or restricted or refused a license to do something in the transport industry. And what we need to do is to complete this form, pretty basic really, and starting at the beginning it says how to apply for a review by sending a written request for review to the Transportation Appeal Tribunal of Canada, and that's the address you see and the various details. Now in that little box we need to insert the details of the applicant. Now I know that it is very easy for clients to do all this themselves, but we are working with lawyers after all, and the whole point of our duties and job is to represent clients. So we are going to be making this application on behalf of the client, but of course there's nothing that stops a client from doing this themselves. It just means if you are in the office and they come to you, they talk about the situation, maybe they feel daunted of going to the tribunal themselves, so they will come to see you or someone in your firm, and you can take the details of their appeal, you complete this, and you need to send it off to the Transportation Appeal Tribunal of Canada. Now what you will need from the client obviously will be all the paperwork, the application they made, the notice or the letter which refused their application, and dates on those letters and so on and so forth. So we would basically need all the paperwork from the client before applying for this review. So we're going to insert now in the box the name of our client, and let's say this is to do with an airline, and we're going to call it Mountain Air Limited. So the name of the client is Mountain Air Limited. The address is 1234 Airport Road. Keep it simple. And of course this application can be from anywhere in any province. So we're going to say that their address at 1234 Airport Road is in Dawson Creek, and that's BC, and the code is V0M 3P0, 3PO. Their telephone number, we will say code 250 800 7000. Their fax number again is 250 801, which is 801 7001, 7001. Okay, name of agent here we could leave blank, or we could insert a name being the person who's going to represent. So we can say Peter May. And we can give Peter May a telephone number of again 250, and let's say 803 3000. And English or French hearing, we will say English. and it states here that your application should include a copy of the notice received from the Minister of Transport or the Railway Safety Inspector or the Canadian Transportation Agency. So wherever he was refused and he received his notice of refusal, then copy of that must accompany this review. And obviously we're going to have a file and we need copies of all of this on the file as well. So before we send this off to the TATC, then we need to make copies, and of course the client will also receive copies of everything. So that is how to apply for a review, in this case to the Transportation Appeal Tribunal of Canada. Now, we already had a court appeal, so if we were going to appeal to the court, then you would use not this type of appeal application, you would use similar to what we did previously from, for example, when we appealed, it was from the provincial court to the Supreme Court or the Court of Justice, or, and I keep having to repeat this, but I'm sure by now you know what I mean. You would be, in that case, we appeal to the Supreme Court, or it can be called the Superior Court of Justice, or it can be called Court of Queen Bench, or it can be called just simply the Court of Justice. So that's the court that you would appeal against a tribunal's decision. You would use the relevant application form then. But if you are just simply going to the tribunal in the first instance, then you would just complete and apply with something similar, which is to the TATC. Okie dokie. Again, another little break, and when we come back from the break, we shall continue.